So that's my other story.
There's a lot of really interesting stuff, like so many threads
to pull. Yes.
So the number one, this is more of an observation, as a sales leader, one thing, based on the stories you're telling me, based on sort of how you've been approached things, you're using cognitive empathy, user experience empathy, stepping into the shoes of the actual person and living that journey and experiencing it. And even with, the story that you described earlier of your car buying journey, is you're really like living that experience and those steps and breaking them down. You're breaking down you're always leading with stories.
Yes.
And you're breaking down stories into, which is intuitive and emotional, into analytical and process plan initiatives. So I think you lead with emotion, but you enable that with, the science, the IQ, the plan, and all that stuff. So that's one observation. And I would love for you to speak on is that, so that's a critical skill. And then where do most people fall flat? Because, they switch to that like complicated jargon speak. And so in your experiences, has that been received well on your side? Have there been points of resistance? And how do you help people see the other way around?
So I think at the end of the day, our role as folks in the selling profession is to help people solve problems. If you can't help someone understand the nature of the problem and how you're going to solve it, how can you establish a trust with that person? How do they know that you can do what you say you can do, right? So first and foremost, relationships is what it's what everything is founded on. I mean, people buy from people. It's true. It's absolutely true. No matter what the process, and no matter if it's something that's even something online where we're, a piece of SaaS software where I can go in and I can buy it without ever touching a person. At some point, there's got to be some connective tissue there with something. You've got to connect on some human level. So relationship building is the most important and most foundational skill to have if you're going to be in the world of sales, because it's all about, even when we talk about the digital selling experience and exposing ourselves in LinkedIn and how do we leverage that as a tool, I was just talking to my sales development team yesterday and saying, reminding them, look, if you go to a cocktail party, a networking event, and you go to the bar and you grab yourself a drink and you turn around and there's Paul standing there and he's standing by himself. The inclination, because we're social people, is to go up and say, hey, Paul, how are you? Or no, who are you? Where do you work? What do you do? What brought you here? Right? And have a natural, curious conversation. Now, what I won't do is give Paul my business card, say, hi, Paul, I'm Gail. Nice to meet you. Oh, and by the way, I sell this really cool technology that is on the inside of your house, and it's all about relationships between all your applicants. I mean, that's not the way we work as humans, right? So think of a tool like LinkedIn in the same way. It's about establishing relationships with people. It's about being curious. It's about learning from other folks, right? So yesterday on LinkedIn, as I was showing them an example, I happened to come across a post of somebody who had written a children's book about cybersecurity. And as I'm reading through the comments, there's a guy who's got a whole bunch of security designations beside his name. His name was Sean, and he had the CISSP and a bunch of other ones. And I think he's if I'm not mistaken, the founder of a cloud-focused technology company. All of that. So I got all of that just from looking at his LinkedIn. But what fascinated me was his post. He commented on the post and said, this is great. I've bought a copy. I can't wait to read it to my 10-year-old, who I've also brought with me to this latest security conference. And I'm like, brilliant. And I wrote a note back to him. I don't know him from Adam, but what that note said to me was, Sean, that is amazing. What I know is that there's a huge gap in security professionals right now. There are an outstanding number, probably millions of jobs available for security professionals right now that are not filled because we don't have enough. So what I thought was really cool was he's starting young. You're starting to build that capital for us at a young age. That's awesome. And I wrote that and he liked it. Well, of course he liked it because it was very personal. I'm fascinated by what he said. I would love to have truly another conversation with him, not to sell him anything, because selling isn't what I do. It's what I help people do. It's not about selling. I would be really interested in understanding why he's exposing his 10-year-old at such a young age to this stuff. What is his goal? What is he thinking about? So again, it's all about relationships. That's the foundation of everything. Now, I probably wandered far, far away from your initial question because I got off on a tangent, but
I like tangents.
There you go. So
because there's so many other threads to pull from. But before I ask you a whole bunch of other stuff, so how do you actually define sales or selling?
Selling is about helping people solve problems. It's about trust. Inherently has to be there with both parties. Really, it's about solving problems and helping people get better results than what they're getting today. If somebody has made a decision to make a change, obviously there's a problem. Selling is about understanding what that problem is, and do you have the tools to guide someone in terms of helping them solve that problem?